What's happening with Advantage Plus?
Meta's always furthering their automation, giving their algorithm more control. And the next step on this that they just released is,
are we still finding ways to force our own hard lines between different aspects of the customer journey? Or are we just loading everything up into Advantage Plus and letting Meta take the wheel?
The big thing that I would definitely say for any advertisers as you start to navigate this is
some of the key considerations. If you're a brand and you know you're running some Advantage Plus on Meta, basically the first things to do is look at.
One thing that Meta's trying to do is they're trying to be better equipped to handle more and more creative. So the other big best practice, I am a big fan of
Imagine having the world's top social creative experts on your team, analyzing your ads, auditing your ad library, and helping you deliver more winning creatives. You don't have to imagine anymore because Motion just launched Expert Agents, AI-powered workflows designed by the industry's best creative strategists. These aren't generic AI tools. Each workflow is built by real performance marketers actively managing high-spending ad accounts. You'll get access to things like Creative Performance Analyzer powered by Dara Denny's framework, which helps you break down what's working and what's not with each of your ads, or Ugly Ad Finder created by Barry Hott, which scans your top spending ads and serves up organic social inspiration so you can make ads that actually stop the scroll, or Scale Unlocker from Jess Bachman, which maps your current ad spend across the awareness stages to pinpoint your biggest growth unlock. Plus, Motion's expert agents include custom tools for social listening, strategic ad iteration, and more, giving your team the insights of a veteran creative strategist at no extra cost. Start shipping more winning ads today at motionapp.com/expert-agents. It's all killer, no filler. I'm Eric, and I'm here with Jacob and Taylor, the two leaders of Pilothouse's Meta program and social ad program. Welcome to the podcast today. I know, guys, we're going to be discussing some of the big changes that Meta has rolled out with their Advantage Plus campaigns. Jacob, start with you. What's happening with Advantage Plus?
Yeah, some new announcements coming out in the past couple weeks. Meta's always looking for ways on furthering their automation. What's the next step to, basically giving their algorithm more control and taking some of that manual aspect away from the advertisers. And the next step on this that they just released is removing the customer cap option on Advantage Plus campaigns. So this has been an option historically where you have your Advantage Plus campaign, you load your creative winners in there. And what you can do is set a customer cap. You can tell Meta, I want to spend maximum 20% of this budget on existing customers or existing defined audiences. And that's pretty important for a lot of advertisers with the way their ecosystem's set up right now. A lot of them use Meta as like cold traffic drivers, and being able to set that cap has been, good for ease of mind, but also benchmarking and all this stuff. But they're actually removing that option and working towards this new simplified campaign flow. It's new technology. It's all these new kind of systems being taken into account. And essentially what it is basically just the next step where you don't even get to control the customer cap. So you tell Meta, here you are, and spend it as you wish, essentially. And lots of nuances and goods and bads that we'll get into this. But that's kind of the long and short of it.
Interesting, because it's, again, a theme on the podcast that we're discussing a lot this year is the worry among advertisers that Meta is overspending on the bottom part of the funnel to saturate it. And, this customer cap was a really good way to force it to top of funnel. And it's obviously fighting that because it's seeing there's no, the more you hammer, what's their data on this? Like, what are they, what's some of the data behind this decision?
Yeah. I mean, they've kind of laid out a few reasons. Like they list performance improvement. Their studies have shown removing budget caps on existing customers just does lead to better performance. A meta-analysis found like the budget cap resulted in a 13% lower cost per purchase, compared to campaigns with a cap. So basically they are trying to prove it out with that data, or they have that data. But of course there's some nuances with that data of like, sure, if CPA goes down, but is that because now the campaign is hitting people that are already aware of the brand? And that's, a question that advertisers will have to benchmark, and we'll get into some of that. But second reason, just encouraging automation. strategic flexibility, and then long-term strategy. The removal of caps, it's part of a longer-term strategy to optimize their delivery and performance, allowing more freedom in targeting to Meta, which can direct advertiser spend towards, warmer audiences, potentially improving the CPA. So they do mention that as well, which is important to kind of note. And then feedback is the last one. It mentions this is still an early stage thing, something they've been testing. Now they're starting to basically force it where all new, Advantage Plus campaigns moving forward, not all of them, but certain accounts are getting it now, aren't going to have this option, but they are still open to that feedback. So that's kind of their stance on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's their stance on it. Now, Taylor, are we thumbs up? If we had to be a thumb up or thumb down on this, is this a thumbs up moment for Meta ads or a thumbs down moment?
It's a good question. I've started to get some initial data back from where it's taken effect, and it's tough for me to honestly give you a clear thumbs up or thumbs down. This is one
sideways.
Of those ones. Yeah, thumbs sideways, I'd say. It's one of those ones where it's a little bit painful early on because, as Jacob mentioned, there are certain controls we have in place with most of our clients to leverage the benefits of Advantage Plus and then ensure that the campaigns are following the guidelines we need to be able to influence the funnel how we want to. But at the same time, the idea of business as usual campaigns have been they've had their place as really great top of funnel down drivers, in addition to being great disruptors for pretty quick fire performance. So at the same time, one of my favorite benefits of Advantage Plus shopping campaigns has been the social proof building really aggressively, quickly, much quicker when I launch test ads or graduate them into there than in a business as usual campaign. And so the idea of that benefit, which I'm seeing from this new campaign type, while being able to apply some other audience, some of your more business as usual type audience controls, there's a potential benefit there as well. So I think it's something to monitor. It could be like iOS 14.5 too, right? Where really painful, but Meta's modeling got a lot stronger afterwards in the years to follow. So hopefully over the long tail, it'll be a good thing for advertisers.
How is it generating more social proof? How are ASC campaigns or Advantage Plus campaigns generating more social proof?
Yeah, I wish I had the exact answer for it, but it's pretty insane. When we launch ads in there, we notice the likes start to build up and the comments start to go too. And it's legit. I mean, one big component, right, is the fact that there is a lot of advertisers will add them with a 5, 10, 15% returning customer cap. So that's part of it. The fact that those go in there, but I'm seeing it happen even in this new campaign format where we have that audience excluded, where you kind of have to pick that exclusion. And so to me, there's potentially an algorithmic element at play there that I don't have any extra insight on, but I do enjoy the benefits of.
So I'm curious because I know we talk a lot about, different campaigns for different customers at different stages of the funnel. You might run a founder story top of funnel, but if they're ready to convert, that's less important. So you don't want there. Are we still finding ways to force our own hard lines between different aspects of the customer journey, or are we just loading everything up into Advantage Plus and letting Meta take the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where they're at is in the Advantage Plus. It's the latter. You're just loading everything up and you literally now have no control over where the messaging's going. They do also still now give you this other option to basically have a new campaign that is more of a manual solution. So almost going backwards in a sense, where you basically have 2 ad sets now. You set the budget per ad set and it's just one ad set is your customers and one is everything else without your customers. That exclusion is in there. And this is what they've recommended for those brands that, have found exactly what you just said, founder stories don't work for our audience that already knows about us. We don't want to have Meta prove this out again. We've already found that data. You're going to have this secondary campaign that's not Advantage Plus with those 2 ad sets, and you can kind of pick and choose where the ads go. But again, this is not as nuanced or as detailed as it used to be. But that is what they're sort of recommending as the pivot, I guess, per se. In addition to obviously still running Advantage Plus, if that makes sense.
So in platform, Taylor, yeah, that's what you're echoing as well. This is kind of how we're using these exclusions.
Yeah. So with this, how this change takes effect, to Jacob's point, if your account has been brought into being affected by this and you try to duplicate one of your existing Advantage Plus campaigns, it'll show you that the existing customer budget cap is no longer available. And so what it then does is it gives you those two ad sets, one being for net new customers and then one excluding customers and being for net new customers, and one including customers, so that it's really a bottom of funnel build. You could already do that in a business as usual campaign, right? So it's interesting. It's the fact that it kind of defaults over to this to try to replicate that effect is pretty interesting to me, at least. But the big thing is like what I've started testing in that case, because in most of our instances, at least in the instances I've tested, for me, it's not as much of an objective to do that. So I actually removed the ad set for the returning customers and just launched the new one. And I have seen some components of an Advantage Plus campaign, but the big thing that I would definitely say for any advertisers as you start to navigate this is Meta's audience segments. It's a breakdown available in custom reports and directly in Ads Manager under the breakdowns tab. That is probably going to be your best friend as you test this, because without being able to, or if you want to try to replicate the impact but monitor how much is net new traffic versus your middle of funnel engaged traffic that hasn't bought yet, even within this new setting, like that's going to be really powerful in understanding truly how top of funnel this effort is, unless you add more exclusions in. Long-winded way of saying I'm actually cautiously optimistic and excited about this because of the opportunity that might be there as we move forward to blend the benefits of both types of campaigns that we've seen to date on Meta.
And you can still then in reports, I think this is what you're saying, but you can still in your reports in these Advantage Plus campaigns, you can still see the breakdown between new and existing customers. So you can tell where the spend is going after the fact.
Correct. Yeah. And you can even break it down a level further if you have it defined in your audience settings, which is the engaged segment. So that's the people that are not like net new to your brand. Usually they've been to your website, but you can see your website visitor breakdown to have three there. So net new, website visitor, and then purchasers.
How long until they don't offer business as usual campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they were going that way, but with this new update and like telling people to kind of go back to that as well as run Advantage Plus is interesting, like Taylor said.
Yeah, what's your hypothesis with that, Taylor, as to why they did this?
When you think about Advantage Plus being launched 2-3 years ago, now that it was such an interesting, like it performs and builds momentum very differently than a business as usual campaign based on what I've seen with pretty much every brand I've tested it. And so it felt like it was almost segmented it within Meta's process. And this is just me finger in the wind, like applying some thinking, like backtracked kind of thinking to this. It's almost like a contrasting test for them to launch like a new direction, algorithmically with certain different benefits compared to running your standard business as usual campaign or traditional campaign, social proof being one of them. Now it feels like they're merging them together. Like there's this realization that a lot of brands use both still, or there are still debates happening. You see it on DTC Twitter kind of everywhere about like what you're using and why you're using it. And so this feels like a simplification to blend them together now that there's maybe some more confidence behind the adoption rate of that and how advertisers feel about that campaign type. That's what I'm hoping, at least. But, again, I don't have any evidence to prove this. This is just a hypothesis that may or may not be true.
So practically for advertisers out there, what are we changing and what are we, staying the course / doubling down on in terms of our approach with meta ads?
Yeah, I could kind of take like some of the key considerations. If you're a brand and you're hearing this and you're running some Advantage Plus on Meta, basically the first things to do is look at what is your campaign setup, how much budget currently is running through Advantage Plus, what's the breakdown there, then break down that Advantage Plus traffic basically with the customer breakdowns that we just talked about, benchmark exactly how much of it, last 6 months has been cold traffic, how much has been warm traffic, get those benchmarks, benchmark your return on ad spend across those. And essentially what you do is just start to test it as it makes sense. And you can compare and contrast, of course, the short-term effect, which Meta is saying, should look better with this new Advantage Plus campaign setup. It's really the reason to go with it, right? Is performance. And that's kind of what they're saying. But also the longer term effect, like sure, Meta's CPA looks great. does that mean that a year from now, like the LTV is going to be as high as it was now? The subscription uptake is going to be as high as it was now? All these other things that Meta doesn't necessarily care about if people are going to throw money at them because the CPA looks great, right? So there's like a lot to kind of gauge and just benchmark. And, I do think their Meta, does have the best interest of advertisers in increasing their performance, but at the same time, they also want to get advertisers spending more. So it's just making sure you're kind of aware of those considerations that I just went through, and definitely testing it as it, comes out, because you want to be, firing on all cylinders essentially.
Any other best practices, Taylor, that you recommend on Meta these days?
Yeah. I mentioned the audience segments breakdown. So that is it. It may not, like, a lot of people at this point have third-party attribution tools that they use to verify as well. I always encourage people to look at those, but this is helpful through the lens of getting a sense of like how it stacks up comparatively, and ultimately, especially as you're testing new campaign types and you're trying to evaluate, how does this new campaign structure perform against my traditional business as usual or Advantage Plus? It's helpful to see where that traffic's going in the more simplified audience structure. One thing that's cool about this too is it looks like you can save your Advantage Plus audiences within this built structure. So you can, like, this is a way to combine Advantage Plus, some of the benefits of Advantage Plus potentially with things like lookalikes and interest groups, some different things that you can try and see kind of where that goes. But ultimately, I'd say like biggest best practice at this stage on Meta is continue to prioritize your creative and what's going to fuel your most important KPIs, often being creative, offer, post-click. One thing that Meta is trying to do is they're trying to be better equipped to handle more and more creative. So a lot of the tests, like a lot of the beta tests we saw last year, were Meta increasing the number of creatives in one of the test groups in your ASC campaigns. So it's really interesting to see where that continues to go. And then I think the other big best practice, I am a big fan of segmenting by product when I'm using cost caps, mainly if there are differing AOVs and different targets, kind of baking in your own profitability targets within your campaign structure. So I would still encourage people, like, it's becoming a more and more simplified ad ecosystem, but it's still definitely worth applying a level of critical thinking about how you want to structure to align to your overall business objectives when you have multiple products in play that might reach different audience segments and have different profitability metrics behind them.
I wanted to ask, because I know we haven't probably talked about the pilot method in a while, which was the way that we've sort of, really built out our ability to test different angles, different avatars, see which aspects of the ads are working well and build on them. Are we doing these pilot test style things with Advantage Plus now, or are they still being done on business as usual campaigns all stepped out, or does ASC kind of do this on its own now?
Okay, so sure. So one thing that's one thing to watch with ASC is your breadth of spend between ads within the campaign. Even in this new campaign, I was comparing the results, and I saw variance between different campaigns I've had under this new style of campaign Meta's launched. So sometimes you'll see all spend go to one ad, and that's a challenge, right? Because on the one hand, the algorithm's favoring it. That might be what you want because it's going to perform. But on the other hand, you might not be giving a shot to something else. We've adapted our testing systems. A lot of our brands use a graduating system where they float between business as usual and ASC so that they can take the benefits of ASC and scale, but still get clarity from the business as usual. And then on a case-by-case, test direct into ASC so that we can just scale quickly. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where that goes in this, because if anything, this might help more with some of the clarity and some of the challenges that there have been in like testing in ASC and being limited by one ad set.
Nice. Anything to add there, Jacob?
Exactly what Taylor said. Like it's not like we're just abandoning all business as usual, especially even on the audience side. Like, sure, Meta's going to find an audience, but there's always going to be opportunities there. Let's just say March Madness is coming up and you're a brand that's, related somehow, basketballs or something, or not even basketballs, like beer or something like that. You're going to want to have an audience matrix test, running where you can hit those specific people. You're getting your brand in front of them. And it's guaranteed data, and guaranteed data is something that's going to kind of go away with Advantage Plus, because that data is hidden within their algorithm. It's not like they're giving you some data, but you don't know like hey, how much of it came from this exact buyer persona, and like all these little things that you can do on the manual side. So, but we find is use those manual business as usual solutions, and if it works, it works, but also take those insights and then apply them to Advantage Plus.
Feed them in.
And you might even have another Advantage Plus campaign that's only basketball related because you've found that that's worked, and that own Advantage Plus will sort of dial into its own customer segment versus your other Advantage Plus that's running, evergreen. So
you could essentially do a pilot test just with each angle avatar combo being its own ASC. Advantage Plus campaign.
You could, yeah, theoretically. But with the way the Advantage Plus works, you're not going to get equal spend to every ad and all these, things that you.
But it would find ideally what is the gold coin or whatever that actually works there. And I'm like, when it comes, we're testing, you throw in 10 to 30 different creatives in one of these. That's crazy. And then when it comes to landing pages, like, say we're talking running founder story angles, and then we have a founder's landing page. Like, you don't want to run a founder's story creative to a PDP because that's really not what they're after in that case. Do we run many different landing pages in ASCs as well, or do we still run campaigns that we have specific landing pages for in business as usual?
Yeah, so like on the landing page side, it's a good question. We're usually using tools in the back end, like our tool Warp Drive, where basically we're routing the traffic, and you can use the rules like if they've come through this campaign or this campaign, send them to this page or this page. You can do different links by like campaign, but yeah, you can't really have a bunch of ads in the Advantage Plus going to different spots on the front end. So it is something you kind of have to think about. And that again might be a reason to test some business as usual. If you need to, test a certain promo or running a giveaway and you need to get traffic to a giveaway page, there's considerations there. But yeah, Taylor, I'm just curious how you're kind of managing that.
Pretty aligned with your thinking. That is something that we think about. Like, we do look at how impactful is congruency between an ad angle and the landing page angle. And then like using that, it's powerful to use that data, right? Like, Eric, because if we run an A/B test using the tools that Jacob mentioned, and we see like, hey, broad ad to founders page works better than broad ad to PDP. That's really interesting. That'll probably spur some founders content coming up next and make those data informed decisions. But yeah, like to Jacob's point, it's challenging in ASC if you have that issue where one ad is going to get the majority of the spend, or you're seeing that and you're feeling limited in your ability to test and actually get meaningful data. That's where I'd say like, don't worry too much. Like, creative in this modern meta environment is typically more impactful than like a really rigid structure that you're following. And usually that's where we'd look to break away from that a little bit and be flexible.
Super cool. I don't know. We didn't prep for this, but I know we're launching Warp Drive. Kyle's hard at work on the marketing front for that. He was just at DX3 promoting that. And I know we have a number of our clients that are integrated with Warp Drive and others that aren't. From the ad buyer's perspective, how are you guys liking what's being developed at Warp Drive?
It's been great. I haven't been like super looped in on the client side facing stuff, but how we've been using it, like just the tools, the routing. Yeah, it's saved us millions. It's been great. And like I said, with ASC and things like that, these tools are going to become even more meaningful and important and impactful because, running these things behind one link allows you to also have that consolidated approach on Meta where, yeah, let's just throw everything in Advantage Plus, all the winners, they're all on one link, but we can still change where that journey goes, because we have this tool. So yeah, some of the new stuff they're coming out with has been awesome. Some of the features.
Yeah, game changer for me as well, and I'm bullish on AI when it comes to media as a whole. So potentially another topic for another time.
Oh, I'm interested now. Yeah, I guess we'll have to dive into that. I guess let's leave it. We just launched our podcast this week with Taylor Holiday, the cost cap king, who stated in that podcast that cost caps have never been more important because they're one of the main levers that remains for advertisers, not in ASC campaigns, but in business as usual style campaigns. Do you guys agree with Taylor's bombastic statements about cost caps? Taylor v. Taylor, do we have can we set up a debate series, or do you agree?
I mean, that would be a fun debate series. I'd say I generally agree. I think there's a place for each bid type. I can't speak for Taylor, but I bet that he would be aligned in that as well. generally speaking, like cost caps, they're really powerful, but I'm even noticing some potential limitations within this new campaign structure compared to what we've seen with ASC. So ASC has had the ability to add cost caps, just standard advantage plus shopping campaigns for a while, and those have been quite effective, but they're kind of a loose cost cap. Business as usual has always been a little bit tighter, and then when you get to big cap, you're really starting to constrain it and be pretty tight to your goal as a whole. But I'm finding in this new version of campaign that it is a little bit tighter than the advantage plus shopping campaign, but there is still a great place for it, especially if you're looking to anchor against some intended outcomes that you have. And I know, Jacob, we were talking earlier and you made the really good point that really one of the big things you're only going to have at this point on Meta is your ability to tell it what your outcome is and feed it the creative as things keep getting simpler and simpler. So it does become more and more prominent. But I think there's also a flip side to it where if you become too reliant on cost caps, it can also be damaging or limiting, and you might miss opportunity that's in front of you as well. So that's where having an overall system that you're confident in and a team around it that you're confident in is really important.
Hear that, Taylor? Holiday? That we somewhat agree. We'll have to do an actual episode with Taylor v. Taylor, Holiday v. Cain, and see what we come up with. But nice, guys. Thanks so much for the meta updates. We've got this is coming out next week. The one previous to this will be an episode from Aves going deep on the founder's story angle for both creative and landing page, which is a huge lever that not enough brands are probably using out there. So hopefully people will listen to these and get a lot of value. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're not getting the D2C newsletter, you can subscribe for free at directtoconsumer.co. And if you want to learn more about Pilothouse's all-killer, no-filler services, take off to pilothouse.co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.